And I see our electoral officer hovering at my elbow, so I will turn it over to him for a moment for some much anticipated information.
Good afternoon, everybody. It generally would be a pleasure to address you all again, but it's been a long day. We do have a result in the election of the regional chief. Thank you all for your patience and for moving quickly to attend the second ballot. So I will announce that the number of votes cast for Maureen Chapman was 69 at the second ballot. The number of votes cast for Terry Teegee at the second ballot was 74. So congratulations to Terry. Thank you.
As we stated, we were going to make a wiggle room on this for, and I know that we all are anticipating this, so we invite our newly elected regional chief forward and to take the oath of office and then make his very first remarks after taking the oath of office. So we have the oath of office here. If you want to read that out and then sign it, and then we'll welcome you to the oath.
Read it out.
That would be great.
First of all, before I take the oath of office for regional chief, I just want to acknowledge Maureen for putting her name forward and for acting as the interim regional chief and her many years as a board of director for the BCAFN. I just want to acknowledge that and say Masicho. Deneza, Tsekuza, Skyza, Smoiget, Simanak, Simo we get chiefs, hereditary chiefs, honored guests. I want to acknowledge the house that we're in Musqueam, the Musqueam people, for allowing us to have this unprecedented election. I never expected a 70-70 a vote, and I want to acknowledge the BCAFN, the staff of going through this today in the last couple of days. Thank you, Masi, for really, I know how stressed you were in elections. They are quite stressful, and especially one that's been so close. So that really indicates that myself and Maureen were really good candidates for this election. And I want to acknowledge all the volunteers that assisted me on my campaign that we developed together. And as I stand here, acknowledging all the support I received from the 74 votes, I still have to work to do to prove to the other votes that went to Maureen that I'm a good candidate and will represent you in a good way, because the 203 chiefs that I now represent, I am obligated to uphold many of your concerns, your rights, your treaty rights, your title, your interests that we hold so dearly, that we try to really implement in our best way and make sure they're not fettered, and make sure that the two levels of government acknowledges our right to make decisions, our right to resources. And really that's what has been laid out for us with this new Green NDP government and with the federal Liberal government in their 10 points. So there's a lot of work to do. We just seen the many resolutions that have been passed, and I think the first order of business is to get that governance in order and then review all the resolutions that we are obligated as a BCAFN to uphold and implement. Going through this whole process over the last month has been a trying one, and hearing all your words, your good words, your condolences from my nephew, my sister's only son, my eldest sister's niece, my niece, her daughter, who fought the good fight against cancer, ovarian cancer, really brought back to, it shook me to the ground. It knocked the wind out of me. It really questioned, what am I doing here? I should be at home. I should be doing, grieving. And I say grieving is the unspent love that you wanted to give to those loved ones. But I think when I thought about this and started carrying on with the campaign, I'm really honoring them, because I know that my niece Miranda would have wanted it that way. Because I know the determination that she had when she was diagnosed with cancer, that she was going to fight to the last breath. And that's what she did. And that's the determination we need as leaders of the 203 First Nations, that we will fight to the last breath for our people, and we'll fight for a rightful place in this place we call British Columbia. I'm just extremely humbled to accept this position. And I want to say I'm ready to get to work. We have so much work to do right now in the next year with the federal government, because we know they'll be going into election mode. We don't know how long this Green NDP party will last. It could be the 4 years, it could be 3 years. There are many things that we need to do now with emergency services that should have happened 12 years ago, when we originally fought for $200 million out of the $1 billion. That should have been there, so our communities would have been prepared for those emergencies in regards to wildfire. So our communities would have been prepared for the floods. So these are the things that I really believe that we should hit the ground running. We should get going on it. And I think these are the things that really affect our remote communities and many of the communities out there. I know we're not all the same. There's no cookie cutter process. My values and my communities are quite different than many of you. And we have to respect the autonomy for all of our 203 communities. So, my name is Terry Tiji. I go by the name Makshum Simgi, wolf with a white spot in the head. I'm the son of Willie and Sarah T.G. from Takla Lake First Nation, and I gladly accept the role as a BC Assembly of First Nations Regional Chief. Must-see, thank you. Hear me, elders, chiefs, and citizens of the First Nations of British Columbia, as well as friends and guests here assembled. In your sight and in your hearing, I, Terry John T.G., take up the duties of Regional Chief of the BC Assembly of First Nations. I solemnly promise and sincerely pledge to fulfill these duties as they are outlined in our BCAFN Constitution to the best of my abilities. I solemnly promise and sincerely pledge to place the needs of our Assembly above my own comfort. I solemnly promise and sincerely pledge to watch for all dangers and to give you warning. I solemnly promise and sincerely pledge to watch for opportunities to strengthen our peoples and to aid all such efforts. Elders, chiefs, and citizens of the First Nations of British Columbia, as well as friends and guests here assembled, you have heard these my promises made without equivocation. I will ever call on the Great Spirit for wisdom and help in carrying them out. Thank you. Masicho Snachalia. Thank you.
Thank you, Regional Chief. And I raise my hands to our acting Regional Chief. It was my pleasure to serve with you as your chair, and it's my pleasure to continue on with this assembly with you here. I feel like somebody needs to grab the drum. Just saying somebody needs to grab the drum for an honor song for both our outgoing and our new Regional Chief. It just feels, I'm just saying, thank you, thank you. Thank you for heeding the call, Chief Bob Chamberlain.
Thank you. I just want to take a moment and congratulate our new BCAFN Regional Chief Terry T.G. and in my next statement acknowledge the hard work of the Acting Regional Chief Maureen Chapman, who never failed to fulfill the duties that she was asked to take on during the time. Just as with our youth candidates, we had two very strong candidates, and the vote reflected that very clearly. So I've asked my Gigame, Dr. Chief Robert Joseph, if I could share a song from his tribe, the Gwawinuk, and it's what we call a Matmalakala. And I felt it was an appropriate song given that it's a song of gratitude. Gratitude for everyone that has been involved today, staff, chiefs, candidates, and everyone and the families that have stood behind them and on this journey. So I'll share with you this song. We can all clap along if you like, it'd be nice. Kunski
Thank you for stepping up, and can we show some appreciation for Chief Bob Chairman for keeping that going and going and going and going?
Need 1 minute here. Where's Jackie?
Lady John. I just like saying that. Good afternoon. My name is Kyle Joe, and I come from the territory where our new regional chief is from. I know his family very well, his mother and father and his grandparents, and is a very fine young man that you've selected. Not a lot to say. I want to call on my sister Jackie for an honor song for our sister.
This is a woman's honor song, because we always need balance.
Yes,